We are going to talk about some of the different ways in which open contact may begin to occur on your world. We are going to talk about the idea of what you can do to accelerate this for your own experience. We are going to talk about the idea of what it means for your planet to experience the beginning stages of contact. I am, and we are, representative of a much larger group than many of you may imagine. This group contains not only other extraterrestrial beings, but spirit guides, soul families, angelic beings, interdimensional forms of consciousness, and so on. There are literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of beings involved in these transmissions. Thousands upon thousands of beings involved in different things going on your planet, watching, observing, and in many ways, participating. Our participation is about to become more physical. You will see over the course of the next few years increases in what you call UFO sightings, UAP sightings, to get you used to the idea that there is a lot of traffic around your planet. There are a lot of portals through which many ships pass, many beings come and go. Many of you ask, where are these portals? And we have talked about some of the main ones that exist on your planet that some of you already know about, such as the location in which we are now beaming this transmission of Sedona, Arizona. But in reality, if you wish a simplistic analogy, your world, your reality is quite a lot like Swiss cheese. It's full of holes, full of portals. There are ships coming and going all the time. There's a lot of traffic around your world. As you increase your vibration, as you broaden your bandwidth, so to speak, by acting on your passion, raising your frequency, becoming a better receiver, a better antenna of higher frequency information and experience, then your senses can extend to the point where you can begin to see many of the things that were heretofore invisible to you, that have been around you all the time. And this not only includes the idea of extraterrestrial spacecraft, but also the idea of spirit beings. Because everything is here and now, right here, right now, all overlapping, separated only by the concept of different frequencies. So don't be too shocked and too surprised when you start perceiving other beings that others may say are not there. You're not crazy. Well, you are, but in a good way. So do not be too surprised as you see an increase in spirit shapes, in causal plane geometrics, in energy streams, in UFOs, in interdimensional beings, in angelic energies, so on and so forth. You have arrived at the place now where you have been preparing and preparing and preparing. And now it starts to, as you say, pay off. The vibration of the new cycle is increasing. The waves are coming faster and faster. And as you raise your vibration, you will catch up to those waves and be pushed along, pulled along, riding those waves toward the experience of open contact, not only with extraterrestrials, but with other beings, other spirits, and of course, as always, more of yourself. Because that's what this is all about, becoming more of who you truly are. Over the course of the next few years, there will be certain things that will occur that will let you know that contact is about to happen. Not only in terms of an increase in sightings, but also in the way in which this may occur. There are several paths that may be taken, by extraterrestrial beings, such as ourselves and others, to begin to initiate you into becoming familiar with our presence in a physical way. One of those ways may be something like this. Ships may appear over your oceans just offshore, so that you know the ship will stay there over the water. You may watch it from shore. It will not move. You will not feel in any way, shape, or form threatened because it is not coming over your heads, over land where you are, but remaining at arm's length out over the water, so that it gives you time to absorb the fact that they are there, off the coastlines of different countries around your world. They may be there for quite some time to allow you the opportunity to gather, to travel to those places, to see the ships. We understand that sometimes they may be surrounded by some of your aerial vehicles, such as helicopters and so on and so forth. But that will all just be part of the show. They will remain there to give you time to get used to the idea that we are here. To get used to the idea that this is the beginning of a great change upon your planet, of a great change in your society. To give you time to discuss among yourselves how you will respond to this change. Take your time. It's fine. There's no hurry. There's no rush. We're not going anywhere. One way may be that you will start to see more orbs of light, which not only can be representative of spirit entities, but also are actually a type of extraterrestrial energy probe. So you may see some of these orbs descend and again remain fixed in a particular position that is non-threatening, giving you time to observe them, to record them, to discuss them, to start to understand that they are there as now something that can become a relatively permanent fixture in your reality, to broaden your understanding of what reality is. Between the ships and the orbs, it may give you an opportunity to start really letting in the idea that everything is about to change. And beyond that, one of the most important things to understand is this. Your society, your world, will be introduced by different organizations and factions of your governments, will be introduced to extraterrestrials within the next 5 years. At the outside. At first, it will probably be most likely Pleiadians. Then, followed by hybrids. After that, we shall see what you are ready for. The next 5 years is not so far away. There will be certain things that will happen before that, as we have already said. Sometime around the end of 2026, the beginning of 2027, there will be things that will happen that will allow you to know you are not alone. That will start to wake you up, open you up to the idea that things are about to change in a dramatic way on your planet. To give you the opportunity to decide which way you are going to go, which direction you prefer, what kind of a reality you prefer to experience, and what you wish it to contain. The idea of being introduced to full disclosure, the introduction of literal physical extraterrestrials to your society within the next 5 years may seem very quick to some of you. But it isn't. Because preparation has been going on for a long time. This is just the final stages, the end result of what has already been going on behind the scenes, that many people on your planet aren't aware of. Extraterrestrials of various types have already been working with some of your scientists for decades to create certain things, to introduce certain ideas, certain technologies. So, contact, in a sense, has already happened and has been going on. It just hasn't been that open yet. So the last stages of contact is open contact, even though contact has already been going on. And in fact, of course, with certain indigenous cultures on your planet, it has been actually happening for thousands of years. Because it is ingrained in their culture. They know. They know and have been interacting with relatives from the stars. Allow yourselves to understand that it is simply the nature of what you might refer to as your Western culture that is the last to know. But that's all right. You have your path. And this is now the place where your path starts to intersect with all the other paths, all the other stories. And the stories now come to light, and the stories now become real, and what you are actually going to live. So, it is approaching the time, the end of one cycle, when what has been going on behind the scenes can now come to the forefront, can now come into the light, so that introductions can occur within the next 5 years to allow humanity to start accelerating within a 3-decade window that began in your year of 2020 and will end in your year of 2050, that will allow you to transition from being an isolated civilization, relatively speaking, to one that is becoming a member of a galactic society. You will be taking your place over this 30-year reset of humanity and accelerating forward in the evolution that you all agreed to plan out with us together, that will allow you to truly take your place among the cosmos, among the stars. One of the gifts, as we have said before, that will be given to you during open contact will be holographic recordings of your complete history, going back thousands upon thousands of years. You will be able to see what Atlantis looked like. You will be able to see many of the civilizations that have existed on Earth that you know nothing about. It will be the history that will be appropriate for the present in which you will exist. It will be the history that will reinforce where you are going into the future. It will be the history that you need to know where you have come from, who you are now, and where you are going. It will be the history that will open your eyes to the agreements you all made with all of us to evolve humanity, to reset humanity in the direction of light and love and joy. It will be something that your children, grandchildren will look back on as the time of transformation, the reset of humanity, and they will look back upon Earth from the ships they will be riding in and know that the entire planet is truly their home. There will be no thought of the idea of borders. There will be different cultures, and they will be cherished and validated, and they will thrive. But there will be a mix of many cultures, humans, hybrids, other extraterrestrials. You will finally, as a planet, become a true melting pot of the galaxy. For there are many stories playing out on Earth. Stories of ancient Orion, stories of ancient Mars, stories of ancient Atlantis. Many stories coming to fruition, playing out to create different endings, more positive endings than those that occurred before in history. All playing out here, for Earth is the place where it all comes together. It doesn't mean that there aren't other places similar to Earth, but Earth is one of the most densely populated places for these kinds of stories, which is why it's so exciting for all of us to watch you. So many stories overlapping, so many transformations that express your power as a soul, as a spirit, to have been powerful enough to decide, yes, I'm going to participate in this transformational school, in this graduating class that is Earth, because this is where it's at. This is where great change and great transformation will accelerate our souls to incredible heights and allow us to truly birth a new civilization. A new Earth is being born right here, right now. And you are all its caretakers and midwives. All of you. We thank you deeply for your courage, for your strength, for your power, for your foresight, for your creativity, and for your love. Think now and imagine now how your lives are capable of changing over the next 5 years. How the introduction of extraterrestrials, the true physical existence on your planet of such beings, will change what you know or not change what you know. What will be affected in your lives? What will not? What will be enhanced? What will not? For it's still in your hands, and it's still up to you as to what direction you wish to take yourselves. It's still your world in that context. It's still your playground. So, think about what you would prefer the presence, our presence, to mean to you. Our physical presence on your planet to mean to what happens to your society. Think deeply about it. Take your time. Even though 5 years is not very far away, there is time. Think about it now. Knowing this is going to occur. What will change in your life? How will you change your lives knowing this is about to happen? What directions will you decide to go in that you may not have decided to go in before, knowing that this is going to happen in 5 years? You can take your time, but again, no, it's not so very far away. 5 years when you are acting on your passion can pass in a blink, and before you know it, we will be standing by your side, standing in front of you, asking, who have you decided to be? Who are you with yourself, and who are you with us? Each and every single one of you has a team behind you. You have spirit guides, you have angelic beings, you have soul families. Each of you have hundreds and some thousands of beings that are all at your back, that have your back, that are giving you guidance, that are urging you and encouraging you to move forward to be yourselves. This is not an accident. The reason that you are exploring consciousness as you are is because it is the end of one cycle and the beginning of the next, and the time that you have been waiting for so long is finally here. All of a sudden in front of you. Unfolding in the next 5 years. So get ready. Don't be caught unawares. Don't be caught by surprise. Oh, I didn't know you were going to show up so soon. I'm not quite ready for this yet. What does this mean for my life? What's going to change? What's not going to change? What do I do? Get ready now. For 5 years is not so far away. And I said, actually, within the next 5 years. So, allow yourselves to look at your lives. Allow yourselves to look at your souls. Allow yourselves to be who you truly are. Because that is who we will interact with, who you truly are.
So the idea to understand is, while contact is still going to occur, is still inevitable within the next 5 of your years, we gave you that window of 5 years because there was movability, flexibility within that window. Due to reactions and responses that we received and picked up and observed in the collective energy of your society with respect to the comments that were made in our transmission, we have determined that there is now a high degree of probability that what we first suggested would occur at the end of your 2026 and the beginning of your 2027 may now occur somewhere more around your 2028 or 29. Because we now have to assess exactly, based on what we have picked up from all of you, exactly how and why contact will occur on your planet. It will still happen, but the reasons for it, the style of it, may change somewhat due to our observation and assessment of information that people on your planet are capable or not capable of handling. You have entered the age of what you term the oligarchs. The people that you choose to put into positions within your governments that you elect are not the people that are, in your terms, running things. It almost does not matter who you have elected, for there are many things going on behind the scenes that will come out in certain ways at certain times that will allow you to recognize how your world is really run and allow you the opportunity to work together, to talk to each other, to finally communicate instead of divide, instead of being divisive, instead of sticking to your own opinions, instead of basing them on fears, to finally break down the barriers and allow yourself not to be on one side or the other of the glass wall that creates the splitting prism, but to be the glass wall, to allow communication to flow in both directions, to get at the crux of the issues deep down and to not be afraid to talk to each other, to discuss with each other, to learn from each other, to hear each other, to commune with each other.
I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing this transmission to occur through this particular window, on this particular day, and in this particular manner. Once again, each and every time you allow this transmission to be translated through this gateway in this way, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience new facets and new aspects of creation through the interaction of each and every one of you and your unique presentation of creation. So we thank you for this gift of sharing. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time with the following notion. We would like to call this following subject the eye of the beholder. We have recently discussed with some of you a new understanding, a new perspective to the question that some of you have had for many years. We have heard many of your people ask about when certain kinds of contact with extraterrestrial species would occur more openly, and we have discussed with many of you for many years some of the reasons as to why this is not yet appropriate. We have talked, and we will now recap briefly the idea about how when civilizations are full of people that are operating on a particular wavelength, a particular frequency of energy, and if that frequency is lower in general than the frequency of energy exhibited by another civilization, then to put the higher frequency civilization in contact with the lower frequency civilization before the lower frequency civilization is ready can actually do harm, because when two frequencies are brought together, the higher one tends to overwhelm the lower one in the specific manner of forcing the lower frequency to speed up. And when your frequency speeds up, that is representative of all the things you have hidden within your consciousness, your psyche, all the fears, all the doubts, being forced to the surface before you may be ready to integrate them, to process them at your own pace, in your own way. And so, civilizations that are of higher frequency, who have respect, will not force themselves upon a lower frequency civilization. And by lower frequency, of course, once again, this is not meant in a judgmental way. It is simply that different people, different civilizations are at different places evolutionarily. And it must be, shall we say, cautionary in how these contacts are made, so as not to do damage, so as not to disrupt, but in respectful manner. And we have talked about this many times. Now, we would like to add one more idea, one more understanding of the effect that encountering an alien species would have upon many of you. Many of you already know that when certain occurrences, life-changing occurrences, happen to you, you look at things very differently. Your perspective of life changes. Your perspective of other people changes. This would be greatly amplified were you to suddenly, at this present point in your evolution, come face to face with some species of other civilizations. In seeing them, in knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are, in your terms, real and present, it would alter not only how you look at things in general, but very specifically would alter how you look at members of your own species. You would never look at humans the same way again. To see, to actually encounter a member of another race from another civilization changes your perspective about all life, all consciousness, especially because of the difference in frequency that you would be subjected to in encountering another species. And when you turn back around and look at your own species, you will not see them the same way. You will not necessarily even see them as real. You will no longer be able to relate to them in the same way. And while there is nothing intrinsically wrong with this, when done without proper preparation, it can be to some degree damaging in your outlook on life. Damaging because you will no longer feel that you fit in, even more so than many of you feel that way now. And the idea is that would literally be alienating to many of you. It is important, from our perspective at least, in our opinion at least, that you remain cohesive even in the changes that you make. For even as many of you change, and even as many of you feel very different from other members of your society, you are still of a kind. You are still of an ilk. The difference we are talking about, the profoundness of the change, would be something beyond what you are used to experiencing. You would truly, in many ways, be alien. And it would not serve you to not be able to fit in certain ways at this time. Until such time as the integration within each and every one of you has taken place to a greater degree than it has right now, until that time, then, physical contact is held back on the part of most species. We know that there are, of course, certain species that are in connection, are in contact with your species, but these have very different agendas, are interacting for very different reasons, and are of very different vibration than many of the species we are talking about that have higher resonances. So do not be impatient for this. The most important thing is to make contact with yourselves, to integrate yourselves, to recognize the differences, to cherish them, to amplify and expand in creative ways upon the diversity within your own culture before you are ready to take the step in learning how to integrate the differences and diversity in other cultures altogether. So we simply offer to you this additional reason for why there is specificity in the timing of when these things will occur. It will not really be so very long. Again, as we have said, the beginnings of some of these encounters will occur within the next decade and will increase and accelerate thereafter as certain changes occur in your society. The point is to simply live your life, not detach yourself from earthly concerns, but recognize that you chose to be where you are for your own reasons, and the idea is to get in touch with those reasons so that you can help not only change yourself, but help others change in beneficial and positive ways according to their own desires and choices, so that in so doing and cherishing your own diversity, you then create the blending and the integration necessary to be capable of presenting yourself as a cohesive planet to other cohesive planets. Then and there will contact be made. Only when you meet us halfway. Until such time, this is the nature of contact now, in that people have been, so to speak, trained to allow conversation and communication and transmissions to occur in this and other similar manners, so that we can have an exchange of ideas without forcing our presence upon you, so that we can leave it up to you to decide whether or not you believe we are real. For we do not care if you believe we are real. We know we are real. The thing that matters is whether you believe in yourselves. That is the most important thing we can impart to any of you. You must believe in yourself, first and foremost. For each of you is a unique aspect of creation and worthy of absolute, full recognition of that fact and unconditional support in that knowing. We thank you for allowing us to share this point of view with you this day of your time. And once again, in return for the gift that you are giving to our world, in allowing us to share in this exchange with you, I ask in return, in what way may I be of service to you now? I'm going to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing us to communicate through this particular gateway at this time to your civilization. Once again, each and every time, our civilization is afforded an opportunity to communicate with you in this way. It opens up our understanding of the universe by experiencing through each and every one of your unique perspectives that many more ways that the infinite has of expressing itself. So we thank you for this gift. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time with a subject that we would like to entitle Etheric Fauna and the Dragon. The idea being to understand that in what you call the astral realms and the etheric realms, these levels, these dimensions of reality are just as populated as your dimension with forms of consciousness that may not always have a physiological counterpart. There are just as many configurations of flora and fauna in the astral and etheric realms as there are in the physiological realm. Now, anything that is physiological will have, to some degree, an astral and etheric counterpart, but not everything that is etheric will always manifest itself or solidify a version of itself in physical reality. So in many ways, the idea of the etheric dimensions, the astral levels, in many ways, they will contain things that you do not experience in physical reality as a manifestation of life, though sometimes there may be temporary, momentary projections and or manifestations of etheric life in physical reality that then may give rise to mythologies and legends and memories of certain creatures and beings and so forth, and then they may again disappear back into the etheric levels, raise their vibrations back up to the etheric realm, and so in a sense seem to disappear from physical reality, again giving rise to the mysteriousness of these reports, of these so-called mythologies and legends that individuals know they have perceived, but then cannot, quote-unquote, prove the existence of, since they no longer manifest in physiological terms. The idea of the being, of the level of consciousness that you have referred to in your past as the dragon is one such example. It exists as an etheric expression. It, in a sense, inhabits or lives in the lower astral and etheric realms, only rarely pushing itself for a variety of reasons into physiological reality. Now, of course, there were times in what you call your ancient history where conditions were more conducive, literally more conductive, for these kinds of beings to be able to manifest in physiological terms for longer periods of time than they may be capable of doing now. Although now, in your physical reality, times are changing and coming back around to when more and more etheric fauna has more ability, more likelihood, more of a conducive atmosphere because of the changes going on in your collective consciousness to be able to perhaps be perceivable, to manifest in physiological reality as they used to long ago. And so it may be that more and more often people on your planet will begin to perceive different kinds of interactions, different kinds of beings, or at least be capable of sensing the existence of these beings in a more realistic way, so to speak, because the veils are becoming thin between physiological, astral, and etheric reality. And what you call different manifestations of spirit and other kinds of phenomenology, such as crop circles, are an indication that things that heretofore were mostly only in the domain of the astral and etheric realms are now more capable of becoming manifested, or at least capable of manifesting an aspect of themselves in physiological reality for your perception, for your interaction, as you so desire. Now, the dragon, in specific terms, symbolically, and to some degree literally, is a manifestation of an aspect of the collective consciousness of your realm, of your dimension, of your people, of your intelligence. It is connected to many other things as well in the idea of your past journey, in the idea of where the spirits of that which is now human also connect to and come from, but as a manifestation of a being in that particular format that you call the shape of the dragon, there is now ability to understand that this being represents the core, very deep, ancient core of humanity's psychic wisdom and its ability to express itself in a multitude of ways, even within each individual, in that each individual contains a multitude of personality aspects and can express the self as an aspect of the infinite in a multitude of ways. This is why Many of the more ancient symbols of dragons express themselves or are represented by multi-headed dragons, what you call the Hydra, with many heads. This was an expression and a representation that the core, autonomous archetypal being of the dragon was representative of many different levels of your being and capable of expressing itself in many different ways, even within one individual, of presenting many faces. In that context, you will find that now that you are gaining more insight, more understanding of your multitudinous personalities within each and every being, you can begin to tap back into that core power, that ancient power that is representative, in fact, of your full of your fullest expression of power in physiological reality. That is what the dragon generally and most simply symbolizes, your fullest expression of power in physical reality. The idea is also that because it is ancient, it expresses and represents the initial inception of humanity into physical reality, of spirit into physical reality in the earth plane. That is why it is represented by that kind of creature, in that the first expression or first level of expressiveness of your physicality in terms of your ability to think, your ability to perceive and interact in physical reality, in the brain is represented by what you often refer to as the reptilian brain, the primitive, simple brain. The dragon is representative of this level as far as your collective intelligence is concerned. In other words, the combination of all of your reptilian level of the brain combines to form the level you call the dragon. And so when you tap into the dragon, you are tapping into the most original, most essential, most primitive, but not in a negative sense, level of your initial inception as spirit collectively into physical reality. And thus, when you tap into that, can express that initial recognition and realization and connection to all the things of nature, of physical reality, and all the things of astral realms, and all the things of etheric realms and spirit realms that will allow you to reclaim, in a sense, your grounded power, your ability to function with conviction and commitment in the way that you recognize the power of the dragon to represent. Also, you will recognize that to some degree now in this day and age, one of the manifestations of your ability to allow the etheric realm to manifest itself more concretely will be some of the interactions that many of you are now having with what you perceive as a reptilian species. This is simply a reflection of another aspect of the collective humanity and all the connections you have with other beings that all together, you, the Greys, the Reptilians, many others, that all together, I would ask you to understand, are different faces and different aspects of one larger intelligence. Start to look at yourselves in this way as one of the heads of the Hydra, and you will begin to also be able to trace back down the necks to the body your connection and your relationship not only to all of yourselves, but to many of the other beings in creation that play their part in the overall history that you all share, going back many, many millennia into the past and even unto other worlds and other civilizations. This is the time of the expression of that power, of the expression of becoming the dragon, the mage, the wizard, the sorcerer, so on and so forth, and allowing yourself to know that etheric fauna, astral inhabitants, etheric inhabitants, you all have counterparts there. You all individually and collectively can connect back to those levels and reclaim the overall connection that you have, not only to yourself as an individual in those levels, but to the collective whole in those levels. For in those levels, and especially in the etheric, There are fewer barriers and fewer separations, and it is easier by going to that level to connect to the totality of humanity, the totality of intelligence that expresses itself in any form of civilization, in any form of discrete dimensionality. To understand your connection to it, to understand how to relate to it, and to understand how to bring through and express that connection where it is applicable and germane for your present experience of the physical earth domain. Let all that sink in. Remember that you are hearing this also on many different levels. So even if some of this does not make sense to your outer mentality physically, it makes sense to your being on a resonant level, and when you simply begin to allow yourself to identify with the concept of the dragon as an etheric representation of the collective wisdom of all of your kind and your innate power and ability to express and claim that power, you will begin to get the point, and you will begin to feel the fire that lights you up inside, which is your own internal light, your own internal power of creative expression. We thank you for allowing us to represent this idea in this way to you this day of your time. Once again, in return for the gift that you are giving to us and our civilization, we ask now, in what way may I and my world be of service to you?
Bashar.
You, good day.
Hi, Bashar.
All right, I'll say good day to all. We will begin this transmission by reminding you that it is titled The Relationship Between Fear and Power. We have discussed many ideas about how you can relate to the concept of fear when you experience it. We have reminded you that it is often the product of filtering your energy through negative belief systems. And because belief systems are designed to perpetuate themselves, we have talked about the idea of how negative beliefs may use fear to prevent you from letting them go as a form of perpetuating themselves. To make it seem worse to let them go, they will often amplify the fear in your attempt to divest yourself of these negative beliefs, so that again, making it seem as if something worse will happen by letting them go, by amplifying, magnifying the fear that you feel, that you experience during the process of attempting to let them go. And we have talked about the ability to understand that because that's what's happening, that you can realize that the stronger the fear, the closer you are to letting go of that negative belief, because then the negative belief is working that much harder by amplifying the fear to prevent you from moving forward in the direction that you prefer. But now let us talk about the idea of the energy itself. Remember, the most important thing in this particular idea is to understand that the only energy you ever feel is your own. We understand that in your reality, in your space-time reality, in the illusion of physical reality, it can often seem as if you're experiencing energy coming from another person or some other outside source. And while it may be true that a person may give off an energy, or an outside source may transmit energy in a variety of ways, the only way you can actually experience what they are transmitting is to match the frequency of that energy out of your own energy. And that's how you experience the idea that energy is coming from somewhere else to you. So in a sense, you cannot really be influenced or impacted by anyone else's energy unless you decide, either consciously or unconsciously, with your fear-based beliefs or whatever beliefs, to match that frequency in your own energy, thus creating a mirror, a reflection, a simulation, so to speak, of the energy coming to you from elsewhere, by mirroring it so closely that you feel it
within your own energy. You match that frequency and have that experience that is representative of the energy coming to you. But again, you can't feel it until you match it. So your energy is the only energy you ever experience. Therefore, understand that when you experience fear on any level, to any degree, in any amount, you are experiencing your own energy being used to create a vibration that matches the concept of negativity, of disconnection, dissociation, disempowerment. Not that you can ever really be disempowered, but you are matching the frequency of the concept of disempowerment, which you can create. But please remember that in order to have an experience of disconnection and disempowerment, you actually have to be connected and empowered in order to create those disconnected and disempowering experiences. So the idea is to remember that you're always empowered. You cannot really be disempowered, because if you were really disconnected, really disempowered from creation, from all that is, you wouldn't be able to have any experience at all. So the fact that you may experience fear doesn't mean you're truly disempowered. It means simply that your power is being used to create a certain frequency that is representative of disconnection or disempowerment, but isn't actually disempowerment. So when you feel fear, allow yourself a moment to remember that you are feeling your own energy at a certain frequency. It's no one else's energy. It's not coming from anyone else or any other source, even though others may attempt to send it to you. What you experience is coming from you. So when you feel the energy that you are, the power that you have in the form of fear, the stronger the fear, paradoxically, the more you are put in touch with how powerful you are. So we are now in this transmission encouraging you to make an association in your mind, in your belief system, between the concept or the experience of fear and the experience of power, by simply first and foremost seeing or experiencing or understanding the sensation of fear as simply energy, as power itself, so that you can make a transition between that frequency that allows you to experience it fearfully and transition to an experience of having it feel like power, like energy coursing through you. We have, to some degree, talked about this a little bit before, about neutralizing the idea of fear by seeing it and experiencing it and understanding it simply as energy, so that you can shift that energy into whatever frequency you prefer. But here we're again attempting to get a stronger association in your mind between the idea of experiencing fear and experiencing your power, to recognize it as a flow of power through you. And therefore, in being able to understand that it's coming from you, to be able to really begin to sense that it's your power simply being filtered through a fear-based belief, you can begin to equate more often than not the idea that the more fear you feel, the more power you experience of your power, the more of it you experience. And then by starting to think of it as power and not really relating to it in the flavor, in the frequency it's being presented to you as fear, but only relating to it as a sensation of power, you can begin to remember that you are always empowered, never really disempowered, that you're using your power to create an experience of disempowerment. But since you know it's your energy and it's not really coming from anyone else or anywhere else, not in terms of how you experience it, then you can decide in that moment, when you feel great fear, to start thinking of it as power coursing through you. And the stronger the fear, the stronger the power, so that you begin to relate to it simply as power. And once you really begin to relate to fear as power, you will change the sensation, the more you practice this, and it will really start to shift into a positive sense of power and self-empowerment, and a realization that you've always been self-empowered, and that all the effects and all the energy and all the experiences you've ever had in your life have always been made out of your own energy, because there's nothing else within you to allow you to experience things in any other way. You have to align, you have to agree, consciously or unconsciously, with the idea of anything being presented to you as a frequency from anyone else or any other source in order for you to experience it. Otherwise, it's invisible to you. There's no sensation, no experience whatsoever, no matter how many times another being or another source may offer or send to you a particular energy, a vibration, a frequency that they may be giving off. You will not be capable and are not capable of experiencing it in any way, shape, or form. It will be completely intangible, completely invisible to you until you, consciously or unconsciously, make a choice to match that frequency or not match that frequency in order to experience it or not experience it in your life. Because everything, no exceptions, that you experience in your reality is made out of your energy. It's all yours. You own it, and you can do anything you wish with it. And the more you remember that fear is power, when you just think of it as energy and shift it into the positive side, then the greatest fear you experience in your life or have ever experienced in your life will give you a clue as to how powerful you are, how much power courses through you, how much energy courses through you. And you can change the frequency in whatever way you wish by your imaginary dial or whatever technique or permission slip you wish. But the first realization is that no matter what you feel, even if it is fear, that is an indication of the power coursing through you that you have at your disposal to use in any way you so prefer. So just begin to make that association, that linkage between the idea of fear as power, and as soon as you start really thinking of it that way, as often as you can, anytime you feel the fear, it will start to subside from the fearful frequency and start to shift over into the frequency of the recognition that you are completely connected, completely empowered. And then you can direct that frequency in any way, shape, or form you wish toward your passion, and allow that much power to course through you in the actions that you take in applying the passion in your life as best as you possibly can. Now remember that this information is not only coming to you verbally, but is also coming to you through the idea of a frequency of energy that we are giving off, not only through the channel's body, but through the electronics that you are experiencing in this remote session. But again, you can't feel the frequency we are giving you unless you decide to match it. So the idea for you is to hear that bell, hear that call, hear that synchronous reminder that wakes you up to the moment when you realize that the greatest fear you're feeling is also the greatest power, and allow yourself to utilize it in that way. So we thank you for allowing yourselves to match whatever level of the frequency you so desire to match that we are sending to you, so that you always know you have a reminder embedded, if you wish, in the very fabric of the space-time you are experiencing, that is always there for you to tap into and match that frequency according to your choices, according to your preferences, so that you always know you have this information right with you, wherever you are, whenever you are, every moment of your life. We thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you this day, and in return for the gift you have given us in allowing us to experience you in this co-creation, we ask, how now may we be of continued service to you? Please begin with your dialogues and your questions if you wish.